Every year, thousands of people move to Houston chasing new opportunities, a lower cost of living, and that Texas lifestyle that you've probably heard about. But there's really one big mistake that a lot of people don't realize they're making until it's too late. So today, I'm going to break down the biggest mistakes people make when moving to Houston. And we're also going to cover the little things that cause some of the biggest regrets, like picking the wrong suburb, buying in the wrong communities, or simply misjudging commute times. And stick around, because the biggest mistake is one of the most people never really see coming. Now, the number one mistake when moving to Houston: not understanding how property taxes work on new construction homes. It's really like a money bomb that's just waiting to go off. Here's what happens when you close on a new construction home in Houston. Your first year property taxes are usually charged on the land only, not the structure. So at closing, you're going to be looking at your closing statement thinking, okay, $2,000 a year in property taxes. That's not bad at all. But here's what most agents don't make clear. In year two, the county appraisal district will come in and reassess the property and its full completed value, including the structure. That's when the shock hits. You can see your property taxes jump 300 to 500% almost overnight. So maybe you saw $2,000 or $3,000 at closing, and the very next year, you're paying $16,000, $17,000, or even $18,000 in property taxes. That's a shock. We'll talk later about another hidden surprise with school zones that can hit your home value just as hard. But this tax issue is usually the most expensive surprise people experience. Right now in the Houston area, property tax rates typically range from about 2.4% all the way to 3.6% depending on the county and MUD district. And since 2020, as home values have increased, tax bills have also increased with them. Yes, Texas recently increased the homestead exemption to $100,000. But when you're dealing with large new construction reassessments, that tax exemption doesn't offset the full jump. So how do you avoid this trap? What we always do is pull the actual tax bills from the similar homes that were completed within the last year and have already been reassessed. That way, you see what people are really paying, not what the builder estimates and not what's showing on land-only assessments at closing. So you don't assume what's on your closing statement is your long-term tax number, because in most cases, it's not. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Travis, and I've helped hundreds of families relocate to the Houston area over the last several years. And I also help buyers and sellers who already live here make smart moves in this market. We're one of the top relocation teams here in Houston, Texas. If you like these types of videos and want to stay ahead of the current market, go ahead and subscribe so that you can be the first one to learn about what's really happening here in Houston real estate. Now, while that property tax bomb is probably the biggest money shot, there's another daily headache people seriously underestimate when moving here. And that's Houston traffic. Oh my goodness. Houston consistently ranks among the more congested metro areas in the country. Recent mobility reports show that drivers in the Houston area spend roughly 75 to 77 hours per year stuck in traffic delays. That's over 3 full days of your life every single year just sitting in your car. Now, the average one-way commute in Houston is about 30 minutes or so, but that number can be misleading because averages don't tell the whole story. Where you live in Houston matters more than almost anything else. For example, if you live near 77024 in Memorial, your commute to downtown might be around 20 minutes without heavy traffic. But if you live in 77433 in Cypress and you're commuting during peak rush hour toward downtown or the medical center, that drive can stretch to 45 to 60 minutes, sometimes even longer depending on the day. And that's over an hour difference round trip every single day. Here's what happens all the time. People visit Houston on the weekend, traffic is light, They drive around and think, okay, this isn't bad at all. Or they assume living in Katy or Cypress won't really be a big deal. Then they move here. Rush hour hits, and that 30-minute drive suddenly feels very different. That daily commute becomes the stress point. And that's one of the biggest reasons some people end up selling sooner than they expected. Not because they hate Houston, but because they didn't test the commute properly. So here's what I always recommend. If you're coming in and to do a house hunt, don't just visit over the weekend. Stay through Monday. Drive your potential commute at the actual time you'll be going to work. That one decision right there can save you years of frustration. Now, while we're talking about things taking longer than expected, let's jump into another huge mistake people are making in today's Houston market. And this one can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. I'm seeing it more and more, especially with buyers moving in from out of state. The Houston market has changed significantly over the year or two, okay? We now have more inventory than we've had in several years. A majority of the homes are selling at or below asking price. This is not the extreme seller's market we saw a couple years ago. But I still talk to people who believe they can buy a home, hold it for a year or two, and then sell it for a big profit. That's just not how this market is behaving right now. Here's the problem. Selling costs in Houston typically run about 6% to 10% of the home's value when you factor in agent commissions, closing costs, potential repairs, staging, concession, and miscellaneous fees. On a $500,000 home, that's $30,000 to $50,000 just to sell. And based on that current pace of appreciation in most Houston neighborhoods, values are not climbing fast enough to offset those selling costs if you only hold the property for a year or two. Realistically, you're looking at a 3 to 5 year hold just to break even in many areas, and even that can be tight depending on interest rates and price movement. A lot of buyers coming in from places like California or New York expect that same rapid price jumps they experienced back home. But Houston's market is fundamentally different. It's more stable, more supply driven, less speculative. Now, there is one area that's quietly outperforming right now, and that's Sugar Land. It's my dark horse pick heading into 2026. Strong corporate presence, established infrastructure, excellent dining and retail growth, and historically steady appreciation. But even in a strong area like Sugar Land, you still have to watch out for the next mistake we're about to cover, because time alone won't fix a bad decision. Now, if you've got kids, this one can completely disrupt your family routine, and that's school rezoning. In fast-growing Houston suburbs, school boundaries are adjusted regularly, not randomly, but regularly, because districts are opening new campuses and managing enrollment growth. Look at districts like Katy ISD, Fort Bend ISD, Cypress ISD, and Conroe ISD. Over the past few years, they've gone through multiple rezoning cycles as new schools open in growing areas like Fulshire, Richmond, Cypress, and Conroe. Thousands of students across those districts have been reassigned during different boundary updates. Some move to different elementary schools, others shift at the middle or the high school level. And while that may not sound like a big deal on paper, it can significantly impact families. New commute patterns, new routines, new friend groups. Now here's where it affects real estate. Homes zoned to highly sought after schools tend to command stronger demand. If a property gets rezoned away from those campuses, it can create price pressure. Not always dramatic, but measurable. And in competitive areas, even small perception shifts matter. So how do you protect yourself? All right. First, avoid buying on the edge of a boundary line whenever possible. Properties on the edges are statistically more likely to be reassigned during future rezoning cycles. Second, call the district directly before making an offer. Ask specifically if there are any planned boundary studies or rezoning proposals. Those discussions are public, but most buyers never check. And in rapid growing areas like Richmond, Bolshire, Cypress, and parts of Conroe, future boundary adjustments are often part of long-term planning. Rezoning isn't rare in growth corridors. It's part of how districts manage expansion. The key is knowing these things before you buy, not after. And that's exactly why I make these videos. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or moving anywhere in the Houston area, go ahead and subscribe. That's honestly one of the smartest first steps that you can make. Subscribers here get my in-depth neighborhood breakdowns, honest market insights most agents don't talk about, and exclusive home tours all across Houston. So whether you're planning a move in 30 days from now or a year from now, or you're just trying to stay informed, this channel is built to help you make a much smarter decision. If you're moving here from out of state, this next mistake can leave you living out of suitcases for months. Moving to Houston is far more complicated than most people expect, and I've seen it happen many times. Families don't properly plan the timing of their sale, their purchase, and their move. Now here's something people underestimate. The Houston metro area spans roughly 10,000 square miles. That's actually bigger than the entire state of New Jersey. So when you combine that size with constant construction, expanding suburbs, and a complex highway systems, planning a move here takes more strategy than most people realize. Late spring and summer tend to be the busiest moving season. That's when school transitions happen and corporate relocations increase. Moving companies book up quickly. Rates often rise during peak demand, and availability becomes limited. But here's where people really get stuck. They sell their home out of state. They assume their Houston home will close on time. And then construction delays, final inspections, or certificate of occupancy issues push closing back 2 or 3 weeks. Now they're in temporary housing, paying double expenses, trying to coordinate movers twice. That gap is what causes the most stress. And in new construction communities, builder timelines are estimates, not guarantees. Add in utility transfers, internet installation scheduling, and final walkthrough punch lists, and suddenly a simple move becomes much more complex. So what works best? Well, if you can, start planning at least 3 to 4 months before you need to move. Fly in for a long weekend. Tour neighborhoods. Get pre-approved with a local lender. And most importantly, build in flexibility with your timeline. Houston is a fantastic place to live, but the size of this market means your move has to be strategic, not rushed. Now, this next mistake might surprise you, especially if you've been watching a bunch of real estate videos and waiting for the perfect time to buy. I had this exact conversation recently with someone relocating in from California. He told me he was waiting for the rates to drop. I asked him, "Why are you waiting?" He said, "Well, I think rates will be better soon, and I think the market might crash." So I asked him something very simple. I said, "What happens when rates drop? Do you think you're the only one waiting?" Right now, buyers have more negotiating power than they've had in years. There's more inventory. Sellers are offering concessions. Builders are offering rate buy-downs, closing cost assistance, incentives. But when rates fall, demand typically increases. But when demand increases, prices respond. That's just basic supply and demand. Let's look at the math. Okay, check this out. On a $500,000 home with 20% down, you're financing $400,000. At around 6.5%, your principal interest payment is roughly $2,500 per month. Now let's wait a year. Rates drop to 5.5%. Sounds great, right? But competition increases and the price rises 5%. Now that same home costs $525,000. With 20% down, you're financing $420,000. At 5.5%, your payment is roughly $2,350 or $2,400 per month. So you waited a full year, took on more competition, paid a higher purchase price, and saved maybe $150 per month. Meanwhile, you missed a year of appreciation. Now here's what smart buyers are doing instead. They're negotiating temporary rate buy-downs, 2-1 buy-downs, sometimes even 3-2-1 buy-downs. If the market rate is around 6.5% to 6.8%, a 2-1 buy-down could lower your rate to the mid 4% range in year 1, then mid 5% range in year 2. Then it adjusts back to the full rate in year 3. But during those first couple of years, you benefit from lower payments. And if rates do drop during that window, you refinance. Look at what happened in 2021 when rates were around 3%. Homes were getting overbid by $50,000 to $100,000 in parts of Houston. Multiple offers, waived contingencies, no negotiations. You have to ask yourself, would you rather negotiate aggressively right now, get seller concessions, get closing costs covered, lock in incentives, and potentially refinance later, or wait for rates to drop to compete with everyone else again? Because historically, when rates fall, activity increases. And when activity increases, leverage shifts. Now let's talk about a few other mistakes that can quietly cost you thousands when moving to Houston. These may seem smaller, but they heavily influence whether you love living here or regret the move. First mistake, choosing the wrong suburb based on internet hype instead of your actual lifestyle. Here's what I've noticed about the happiest Houston homeowners. They prioritize their daily routine. Where do you work? Where will your kids go to school? What do you do on the weekends? How often do you commute? Your everyday life should drive where you live, not what's trending on social media. I've seen buyers fall in love with a cool area online. It looks great. It has the hype. It's growing fast. But they didn't think through their daily routine. 12 to 18 months later, they're selling their home. And in most markets, especially today, that short hold almost guarantees you lose money after selling costs. Now the second mistake, not budgeting beyond the mortgage and the property taxes. Houston summers are intense. We routinely experience weeks where the heat index exceeds 100 degrees. Your AC will run almost nonstop. Electric bills can climb significantly depending on the home size and installation. If you have a sprinkler system and want to maintain a green lawn during the summer, your water bill will reflect that. Then you have HOA dues. In many Houston master plan communities, annual HOA fees range anywhere from around $800 to $1,500 per year, sometimes more depending on amenities. And then there's insurance. Texas homeowners insurance has increased in recent years due to hail, storm exposure, and overall claims activity. You need to review deductibles carefully, both for your home and your vehicles, because a lower premium with a high deductible can surprise you later. These are not dramatic mistakes, but when you combine utilities, HOA, insurance, maintenance, and commuting costs, that's when the true cost of living shows up. And if you didn't plan for it, it changes how you feel about your home very quickly. All right, those are 7 of the biggest mistakes I see people make when moving to the Houston area. And most of them happen simply because buyers don't know what to look for ahead of time. Houston is an amazing place. I've been serving families here for years, and I still love this city. The people, the food, the entertainment, the culture, the opportunity, it's all here. But the key is making smart decisions before you buy. If you're thinking about making a move to Houston, whether you're relocating or you already live here and you're planning your next step, reach out. All of my contact information is going to be on below and on the screen. My team and I would be happy to help you make a smooth move to Houston. And if this video has helped you today, make sure that you subscribe, like, and share it with someone else who might be thinking about moving here. That's how you stay ahead of the market and how more people avoid these costly mistakes. And before you go, check out my next video right here where I break down the 6 property types you should absolutely avoid buying in Houston. And until next time, we hope to show you around town.